Hello everyone, this is Krill and welcome back to Kali. It has been 4 or 5 days since I have not made any videos, so we have already reached to a part where we have our player rectangle moving smoothly, and then we can throw bullets, and then if it hits the enemy we get a score, right? And if you're following through this tutorial, you should be already well aware of how this is working. So in this tutorial, in this part, we are gonna apply the game over logic. If you see that the enemies are falling from the top, and if it hits the player rectangle, now nothing is happening, right? So there's two parts to the game over that I thought that I would try to make. There could be a bunch of other things in a well developed big game for the game over, but in our game, because it's a simple game, right? So I'm gonna put only two reasons to get a game over. One, when the enemy rectangle touches the bottom of our window, and second is whenever the enemy rectangle touches our player rectangle. So there are two conditions, so we're gonna apply those two conditions in today's episode, and after the game over we're gonna straight move into the graphics and GUI for our game and make it look very beautiful, so you guys can keep it on your portfolio or resume or wherever you want. So without anything else, let's move over to our code. We have a bunch of type error here, so don't worry about this for now. So I'm already in my controller.cpp class. I have a function here to check the collision between the bullet and the enemy, and I should have a function update state which constantly checks the update of our player rectangle, right? So what is our first reason? Our first reason for the game over is to check if the enemy has gone beyond the window, right? Beyond the width of the window. And second is if it has touched our player rectangle or not. So what I'm going to do is inside this update state, before check collision, I want to include that, and what I want is I want to check before anything else. I want to check if our enemy, which we have already created in like here, a bullet list and enemy list. So we have two lists, right, where we like give the objects of our bullet and enemy. So I'm gonna check if, let me go and write it and show it to you. So I'm gonna quickly create enemy class object enemy B or E, let's say. So each enemy, this is a for each loop. I already think that you know what for each loop is. So for each element will be stored in this enemy type E from the what enemy list. So it's just like, you know, like iterating through any type of list or arrays or any such kind of data structures. So we're, if you see our collision check collision here, we have used for loop which iterates with the help of enemy list size and then checks and then keeps on reducing the index and then removes it from the last of the list. But I don't really need to put the loop here, because we're not changing anything. We're just checking if our enemy is touching our player or it is going outside of the window. That's why we are just checking. So if you don't have to change anything, you're just checking, then you can use for each loop instead of the regular for loop. So how does this work? I know I already kind of assumed that you guys know C++, but anyways, see, it says like for each enemy.e. So every elements from this enemy list will be stored in this, and then it will come here, okay, and then it will iterate over every element. So what I'm going to say is if I'm going to check if it has gone beyond our window. So our E dot position of E Y, right? So our position of E is greater than the width of the window. What is the width of the window? If you go to our controller edge, our width will be bottom Y, right? This. So go back to control the CPP and then say bottom Y. Then what we're going to do is emit game over. Now notice something, that we have not created this game over signal. We're going to do that. And see here, what we are saying is, if the position of this E, it is checking for each element, okay? It's like iterating over the enemy list. And it's checking if its Y position is greater than the bottom Y, emit game over. So game over, we don't have this signal yet. So what I'm going to do is create a signal in our controller header. Size signals, I'm going to say void game over. Seems good. And then go back to your controller CPP. So we have one condition met. It's going to check if it has gone beyond the window. If it has gone beyond the window, it is going to embed this game over. And then the second condition is checking if our enemy is touching our player rectangle or not. So for that, what I'm going to need is, how did we check the collision between our bullet and the enemy? By creating the bounding box, right? We can do the same thing, like by creating bounding box between the enemy and the player, and then we can detect the collision, right? So we already have this implementation right here. So if you had not skipped this episode, then you should be all well with this logic. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to copy this inner loop and paste it inside of this enemy list, and then I'm just going to change this to what? For enemy list. So we're going to create it for player, right? So our player is only one, so I don't even need this. This is funny because we only have the one list. This is for the enemy. For player, we only have the player, so we don't need to compare between all the players and all the enemies like how we did it, because there were too many bullets, right? So each bullet was meant to be checked for the collision, but for this case it is only one player and a lot of enemies. So we are checking all the enemies but only one player rectangle. So I remove that and the nested loop, and we have a bunch of errors coming here. Don't worry about that. Let's quickly fix this. I'm gonna keep this enemy left, enemy right, because we're gonna need it. So I'm gonna keep this here and then remove this. And we have for the bullet, right? So it's for the players. So let's make a bounding box for the player rectangle. So player left, player right, player top, and player bottom. Looks good. And it says the bullet X, the position of X of the bullet. For our player, what is the position of X? Let's go and check in our controller edge. Our is MX and MY. Okay, our current position is MX and MY. Perfect. So we'll go here and then do MX. Looks good. That is a variable. So for the right, say mx plus 50, and for the top, let's do my And for this bottom, I'm gonna say my plus 50. It looks good till now. Oh, why do we have enemy here? It was just E, right? So that's why I was getting an error. Looks good. Perfect. Now we're gonna check if there is a collision or not. I'm just gonna cut it here and then paste it here with proper indentation. And it's checking bullet to right, so we're gonna do enemy to right. Yeah, enemy to right will be like checked with the player's left, and enemies left will be checked with players right. And then you shouldn't be confused about this because you already seen this implementation. I'm not repeating the same implementation because it's like meaningless, right? Going over the same topic, you already, because this is a very simple topic, so I'm assuming it's just an assumption that you guys already know it. And I'm so sorry that if you are getting confused in this part, I recommend you going back to that part and watching it over one more time. And then checking enemies top with their bottom. To be honest, we don't even need to check the left and right, but anyways, our player moves left and right too, right? So if it goes right and then hits the enemy, we need that. So enemy dot top, enemy dot bottom, nice. Player dot bottom, and then enemy bottom will be greater than player. Seems good. Now this should be able to check collision, and then I don't need these. Yeah, I need to emit a signal, which would be game over in this case. Looks perfect. But you should be able to check if there is a game over or not. Perfect. So what I'm gonna do is let's put a Q info and check game over, okay? When the enemy crosses the window, and also check it when our player rectangle touches the enemy. Okay, let's run again, and we would be able to know if this implementation is working or not. Perfect. Okay, perfect. Let's run it. It's building. So I'm getting few comments and like feedbacks on my video, on my previous videos for this series, and I was very happy that you guys were commenting and then giving the feedback. It really makes me happy. It does. It truly does. I keep on checking my notifications if somebody has, like, you know, say something on the video. Anyways, let's wait till one of the enemy to cross the windows with, and I'll also try to touch the enemy rectangle. Let me touch it. Yeah, I touch it, right? Now there should be a game. Oh, game over. Game over. So why is there a bunch of game overs? You know why? Let me check. There is going to be one more. Yeah, this is growing. See, this is going. Then we are getting game overs. Okay, looks perfect. This is the basic implementation for the game over. So what I want is whenever the player rectangle touches the enemy rectangle or it goes outside of the window, I want a pop-up to come on the top of the window and ask us if we want to close this game or restart the game.